What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Influence Exchange. As always, thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever this podcast shows up. I truly appreciate you spending part of your day here with me. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. I'm glad you found your way here. I'm your host, JV, and this podcast is a space for honest conversations about real life, not perfect life. I'm your host, JV, and this podcast is a space for honest conversations about real life, not perfect life, not highlight reels, just awareness, growth, and learning how to understand ourselves a little better. And today's episode is going to feel a little different, but in a good way. Usually, I bring a topic and we break it down together. But today, it's not just my thoughts, it's yours. I asked you, the listeners, to send in anonymous confessions, real thoughts you've been carrying, things you don't always say out loud, patterns you notice in yourself, or feelings you're trying to make sense of. And you showed up. Some of these are honest, some are uncomfortable, some are heavy, and some are things we all think but rarely admit. And that's why I wanted to do this episode. Because growth doesn't start with pretending everything is fine, it starts with honesty. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to read a confession, we're going to pause, then we're going to unpack what's really going on underneath it with no judgment, no shaming, just clarity. And if you hear one and think, that sounds like me, that's the point, because you're not alone. This podcast isn't meant to be one directional, it's meant to be a conversation. And if you ever want to be part of that conversation, if you have a story, a lesson you learned the hard way, or something you're working through, I love to have you on the show. You can send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange, or use the fan mail link in the episode description. We will set it up. So take a breath, set everything else down for a few minutes, and let's talk about it. All right, my friends. Before we jump into the first confession, let me quickly explain how this is going to flow so you can follow along easily. For each confession, we're going to move through 4 simple steps. Nothing complicated, just clarity. Let's dive into it. Step number 1, read the confession. I'm going to read the confession exactly as it was submitted. No changes, no added commentary, just the honest, unfiltered words. Sometimes simply hearing something out loud makes it feel a little lighter. As you listen or watch, I want you to quickly ask yourself, have I ever felt this before? And am I feeling this right now? Step number 2, pause and slow down. Instead of jumping straight to advice, we're going to take a moment and pause. Why? Because real growth rarely comes from quick reactions. It comes from slowing down and looking beneath the surface. So we're going to ask questions like, what's really happening here? What might they be missing? Is this about the situation or something deeper? This step is all about building awareness. Step number 3, what's really going on? Now we take a closer look. We'll break down the pattern behind the confession, the emotional trigger, the mindset behind it, the fear of insecurity underneath, because most confessions aren't really about the surface issues. They're often about identity, attachment, fear, validation, control, or growth. This is where real clarity begins. Step number 4, the simple takeaway. Every confession ends with one clear takeaway. Not a long list, not a lecture, just one grounded shift you can actually use. It might be a mindset adjustment, a boundary reset, a new perspective, or one small action step. The goal isn't to fix everything at once, it's to help you walk away thinking differently than when you started. Now that we've covered the 4 steps, let's dive into the 5 confessions. Confession number 1, I still check their social media, even though I know it doesn't help me. Let's slow this down. You're not just scrolling through their page, you're looking to see if they're moved on, if they seem happy, if they're thinking about you, if you made the right decision. This isn't really about curiosity, it's about validation. You want reassurance, you want closure, you want proof that you mattered. But here's the reality. If checking leaves you with more anxiety than clarity, it's not helping you move forward. Sometimes the strongest choice isn't looking again, it's choosing peace over constant updates. Confession number 2, I set a boundary and now I feel guilty. This one is real. You finally said no, you finally spoke up, you finally chose yourself, and instead of feeling strong, you feel uncomfortable. And why is that? Because you are used to being the easy one, the flexible one, the one who adjusts, the one who keeps the peace. Guilt doesn't mean you did something wrong. It usually means you're not used to protecting your energy. Growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. Give yourself time. Confession number 3, I miss them, but I don't want them back. This one feels different. You don't miss the arguments, you don't miss the stress, you don't miss the uncertainty. You do miss the routine, the inside jokes, the familiarity, the version of yourself during that time. Sometimes you're not missing a person, you're missing the comfort. And comfort isn't the same as compatibility. That's an important distinction. Confession number 4, I'm afraid to outgrow my friends. Let's be honest, growth changes you. Your mindset evolves, your standards rise, your priorities shift, and not everyone grows at the same pace. So you start wondering, what if they don't understand me anymore? What if I seem different? What if I lose them? Here's the truth. You don't have to make yourself smaller to stay connected. The right people grow with you or make space for who you're becoming. The wrong people feel threatened by it. And that reaction tells you what you need to know. Confession number 5, I overthink every text I send. You type it, delete it, rewrite it, read it again and again, add an emoji, take it out. And why? Because you're trying to manage how you're seen. You don't want to come across as too much, too distant, too eager, too cold. Consistently editing yourself is draining. The right people don't require you to perform. If you have to shrink yourself or overanalyze every word, you're not relaxed. You're managing perception. And that's not something you can sustain long term. All right, let's pause for a moment. If you're listening or watching on YouTube and one of these confessions made you sit up a little straighter, if you thought, okay, that one hit, notice that. Don't brush it off. Don't scroll past it. Just acknowledge it. That reaction, that's awareness. And awareness is where change begins. Now, let me say something important. If one of these confessions sounds like you, this isn't about feeling exposed, it's about feeling understood. The reason we're doing this episode is to show you that the thoughts you think are just yours are often shared by more people than you realize. You're not the only one checking their page. You're not the only one feeling guilty after setting a boundary. You're not the only one afraid of outgrowing people. You're not the only one rewriting that text 5 times. You're human. Here's something simple you can do right now. If one confession felt personal, send this episode to someone you trust and say, "This is what I was trying to explain." That's it. No long explanation, no dramatic message. Sometimes we struggle to find the right words. Hearing someone else say it clearly can help start the conversation. And if you're listening thinking, I could have written one of these myself, good. That means this is connecting. If you want your confession featured in a future episode, send it in. Keep it anonymous. Keep it honest. No need to polish it. DM me on Instagram or TikTok at the Influence Exchange, or use the fan mail link in the episode description. This doesn't have to be a one-time conversation. We can build this together because this podcast isn't just me talking, it's all of us thinking. All right, let's keep going. All right, my friends, I don't want this episode just to play in the background. I want you to engage with it. This isn't only about hearing someone else's confession. It's about checking in with yourself. As you listen, here's what I like you to do. First, be honest. If something sounds familiar, don't brush it off. If something feels uncomfortable, don't rush past it. If something hits close to home, sit with it for a moment. Growth begins with honesty, not perfection, not performance, just honesty. Second, notice your reactions. Pay attention to what comes up. Did you feel defensive? Did you feel called out? Did you feel relieved that someone else feels the same way? Those reactions matter. They show you where something may still need attention. Third, ask yourself simple questions. Nothing complicated, just honest reflection. Where did I do this in my life? What am I avoiding? What pattern keeps repeating? What am I afraid to admit? What would it look like to respond differently? You don't have to solve everything today. You just have to recognize it. Fourth, don't judge yourself. If you hear confession and think, I've done that, don't turn it into shame. We all stayed too long checking the page, avoided the conversation, over-explained, ignored the red flags, doubted ourselves, made ourselves smaller to stay comfortable. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. This episode isn't about pointing out flaws, it's about understanding patterns. And once you understand a pattern, You get to decide whether you repeat it. Lastly, take one thing with you. Not everything, just one. One shift, one insight, one boundary, one small adjustment. Small changes repeated consistently change everything over time. So don't just listen to the confessions, reflect, notice, and adjust. And if you catch yourself thinking, yeah, I needed to hear that, then this episode is doing exactly what it's meant to do. All right, let's finish this strong. All right, my friends, let's slow this down before we close. If you listened to the entire episode, I want you to recognize something. You didn't just listen to other people's confessions, you probably saw pieces of yourself in them. And that's powerful because awareness is the first step to growth. If even one confession made you pause, if even one made you think, yeah, I do that, or I felt that, then this episode did its job. And here's what I hope you take with you. You are not the only one navigating these thoughts. You are not the only one overthinking. You are not the only one missing someone you didn't want back. You are not the only one feeling guilty after choosing yourself. You are not the only one trying to grow quietly. We're all figuring this out in different ways. And that's what this space is for. This podcast isn't about pretending we all have it together. It's about understanding ourselves better, one conversation at a time. So here's your simple takeaway this week. Notice one pattern you heard today, just one, and instead of judging yourself for it, observe it. Ask, why did I do that? What am I protecting? What am I afraid of? What would a slightly better response look like next time? You don't need a complete transformation. You just need small awareness shifts. And those add up. Before I go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting this space. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This show works because you show up. And I want this to continue being a two-way conversation. If you have something you've been thinking about but don't know how to say it, send it. If you want to come on this show and talk through something in real time, let's do it. You can send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange, or use the fan mail link in the episode description. With no scripts, no pressure, just real conversations. Because we're building something here, and I want you to feel like you're part of it, because you are. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others. Thank you for joining.